Hello everyone, Death Stimulator here, bringing you some more naval action. So today we're going to be kicking off against, what is this? Frigate Cerberus Nobelpool. Nothing too much for us. Though we do have to be careful as we've actually turned into the wind. Not the best place to be. Hopefully, though, we can get ourselves around fairly quickly and pay these ships back for their shots against us. So, three frigate class ships, at least I think the Cerberus is considered a frigate, shouldn't be too much. We've just come out of a match against a pair of Trincomalis, a Surprise, and a Trader and a Navy Brig. And that went fairly well. Took us a bit longer than it probably should have. I think we were up for like 40 minutes, just because stuff was sitting upwind of us. And that's something we're going to be very aware of in today's match. Not today's match, but in the match that we're bringing you guys. We're going to be careful not to lose the wind. Because we're so heavily undercrewed, if we end up having to turn into the wind to try and catch up to them, it's not going to end well for us. Still having some issues aligning ourselves right. Just need to leave it a little bit longer, I think. We're still firing off too soon. Also, I still struggle with double shot, getting it to hit. A lot of it does go a bit askew from what I expect it to be doing. I am missing the carronades still. I think I've said that in every episode since we've actually gotten the Bellona. Though we can do a decent amount of damage if we get in close-ish. Still no boarding. That is currently disabled in open world, or I guess in naval action as it is now, as there's not really sea trolls any longer. Something I occasionally forget about. And it does mean we can take risks that we wouldn't normally take. Being undercrewed, of course, sailing around in a Bellona could be very dangerous for us, except for the fact that we don't have to worry about being boarded. Which is really one of the few problems that we actually have to worry about in terms of sailing around undercrewed ships. Is that a similar sized ship wouldn't need to fight us necessarily, they just have to get us to stop. Not a fan of that happening, to be honest. So we'll keep a careful eye on the patch notes, and once they re-implement boarding under the new system, we can take our time. Make sure everything is set up properly. So how are we going? We missed a ton of the shots there. I ended up putting us far too low. The Bell Pool here. I think this is the Bell Pool. Yes. No, the frigate. Should really have recognised it. Able to do a little bit of damage there, which is nice. Seems we set them on fire, potentially. Though, fire's not such a big issue anymore. I think it used to be not necessarily more common. It seems to be slightly more common now. But it used to be if you didn't immediately jump on the old survival, you're likely to explode. Whereas I've missed the fire and been kind of, I guess, delayed in my response to it and haven't had such an event occur. And the fact that the AI now put themselves on survival, I think, means that they don't always go off, they don't always explode. I'd be quite surprised if they don't actually get out of that. But stranger things have happened. No, that's actually looking pretty good. Looks like we lucked out a bit. No, they've got it under control. I can't tell. I am doing the arguably silly thing of turning back towards it, however. Yeah, no, they've repaired that. The sides been magically repaired. The planking has returned from its charred state into a more normal one. So it looks like they've got it under control, even though there's still some flames licking the sides of the ship. Or at least licking the mast. That should put the Cerberus down. Hopefully. This Bell Pool's the troubling one at the moment, though. With the frigate having suffered the most damage, I'm actually going to try and turn and hit that with our port side guns and get that out of the way, essentially. We've had more shots at the Bell Pool, but haven't been able to land any solid hits. Yep, Cerberus is going down quite nicely. Even though I did say that we were going to hit the frigate, I'm actually going to instead look at ramming it and focus our fire on the Bell Pool here. With the new ramming mechanics, this could be somewhat efficient. Maybe not. We've ended up hurting the front of our vessel quite badly. And if we can stay here for a few more seconds. Yeah, there we go. Should be able to get a good few hits at close range. One of the big things, one of the large changes I should actually note is not that one. This one. The devs have limited it to 3 repairs a match. So previously, when they updated the repair system, you could use as many repairs as you had access to. So if you had 30 repairs on your ship, you could use 30 repairs in a match, assuming for the 10-minute timer, of course. Now the 10-minute timer is still there, but repairs are limited, so you can only use 3. And this means that, once again, you're back to picking your moment to use repairs. And it also means that you don't have some of the larger ships, just which have got a bunch of really good modules on them, like a bunch of bow and stern planking upgrades, and just like a lot of extra armor, being able to survive almost indefinitely, regardless of what was shooting at them. There was a large Trafalgar battle, which I did play in, but I didn't get much good footage from, so I just kind of left it, in which ships were surviving probably what they shouldn't have been surviving. Basically kind of like semi-sustained, not completely sustained, but semi-sustained fire for an entire match. I survived, I think, something like 5 minutes in this, just being bombarded by 5 or 6 ships. After having used it, my repair was on cooldown. And that probably shouldn't have happened. To be fair, they probably should have been able to sink me. But that's what kind of the alpha beta phase is for, is actually to test the game, see what is broken, in fact try your hardest to break the game, and by doing so create a better, more enjoyable experience for everyone. And I'm hopeful that feedback I provide will go some way into doing that. So we've annoyingly lost the wind a little bit here. So this is going to be a little bit difficult for us. Just because the AI seem to have had a few little tweaks. At least some of the frigates seem quite happy to kind of sit at a little bit of a distance from you and bombard you at range. Which is good, but comes back to one of the problems that I had with the old AI, being somewhat vexing in that the AI can essentially cheats, right? The AI can often ignore the wind. The AI gets more than perfect turn timings and that sort of stuff. And that's fine, that's what they need to do to kind of win. But it does mean that rather than, I guess, being difficult to sink them, difficult to attack them, it just becomes a bit of a chore trying to get them. And I can't say that that's what I'm after in a game. I really don't want to my experience with the game to be a chore to do something. But you know, you can have bad matches with players, or long or extended ones where it's frustrating. And that's what you're going to get for versing a player. But with the AI, I don't necessarily want to beat up on them, but I don't want my game, like the time it takes me to sync them, to be artificially inflated by them putting themselves in a difficult position where I have to struggle to reach them. It's kind of that concept of delaying the inevitable. And I mean, they don't delay the inevitable to an extreme degree, but they do it to a minor degree. An extreme degree would be if they just took off downwind. Upwind, rather. Always get those two mixed up. If they just ran upwind infinitely, that would be a pain. So I'm hoping that that's the Bell Pool sinking, and we can essentially just deal with the frigate here. Now that our pump's taken some damage, I'm actually going to do the module repair, because that's still limitless and doesn't require us to have anything in particular. As you can see, we still lose a lot of guns, down from 13 to 7. And down from 13 to 10 as well. It's not insurmountable, but it is, once again, something that doesn't really happen when I'm playing against players, and it's very noticeable that it's something that the AI do. And it's another little frustration in that, once again, it's not doing anything other than artificially inflating the amount of time it takes me to kill the AI, because I'm doing less damage with each shot than I would otherwise be. And while it makes killing the AI a bit of a chore, beyond that, I mean, players don't want to fight you in even or even semi-even matches. Heck, I ran away from a Bellona vs Bellona match the other day, mainly because I forgot that they couldn't board me. So they had they were fully crewed, and I was down 400 or so. And I was like, no, I'm not having any of this. I was actually trying to do something, and they just kept tagging me in for a good hour. But I was fine. I wasn't gonna sink. I wasn't gonna get captured. I was just trying to get out of the match as fast as possible, and it did not work out. Having said that, the point that I was trying to make with the idea that... So I'm just trying to think about the best way to say it. It's just artificial. Like, that match lasted a while because of the way I was playing. And the way that the opponent was playing as well, just keeping me in there. And this is essentially what happens in this scenario. These two ships aren't going to sink me, but it is taking me a long time to kill them. And sure, partially that is because I missed, a couple of early broadsides. Fairly severely. Like, it was, I should have gotten the hits, but I just was a little bit rushed with it, and so on. And now, I'm having trouble sinking them, simply because I've lost cannons, which means my damage output's less. I don't know. It's hard to balance gameplay against, I guess, just it's hard to balance good gameplay in a fight against kind of artificially extended gameplay in a fight. And while I don't want to walk all over the AI, I'd like the matches to just be as long as they need to be, kind of thing. I don't want this artificial inflation of, you've lost your guns. Like, I was playing earlier and I had like 12 guns on one side of my ship. Down from, what is it, over 34 guns, I think it is, a side. That's bad, I should know that, but... Or 32 guns. You know, that's... going down almost almost to a third of the guns that I normally have. And all it's doing is extending the match, making me take more damage. And I still haven't had a match where I've gone, like, I've made a loss that it cost me more to repair than I got from the fight. So, in a sense, like, extending the match so I take more damage and therefore spend more on repairs isn't serving to stop me snowballing, in a way. It's just means that I have to fight more matches against the tedious AI. And ideally, I'd like to fight players. Like, my preference would honestly be to fight players in matches like this. But you can't lock people into a match. Because they'll either want to run away, or they'll think they have the advantage and want to fight. And it's rare that you get in a situation where they're wrong about that. Unless it's a pre-arranged match, people don't seem to be interested. And I get that part of the thing with the AI making them a little bit tedious is for players to seek out those matches. But the fact that you can't kind of force people to fight you means that players don't bother. They just chase AI. Instead of, like, I could spend, as I was saying before, like, that guy spent almost an hour chasing me, where, you know, he could have jumped into a fight and killed a bunch of AI and gotten more experience than he probably would have, like, chasing me and just, like, repeatedly tagging me a little bit. And I've had the same experience. I've jumped into a match to fight someone. It's been an even match and they've just taken off. In fact, I think they had the advantage. I think they outcrewed me. This wasn't in a Bellona, this was back in our frigate. And they took off and I noticed that we were fairly even, and it's like, well, I could have hit their sails and then eventually worn them down. And then sunk them eventually. But that would have probably taken like 40-50 minutes. And so rather than doing that, I left and went and killed like 3 AI fleets in the same amount of time. And even then, those AI fights were tedious. I could have been done with them far quicker, but the AI kept knocking out my guns. I don't really have a solution to it. And that's naturally part of the problem. I mean, I can't think of a solution for it. You know, I'm not even the devs. But it is something that I need to be aware of. And I'm sure they are, of course. Anyway, my 2 cents. Anyway, at the moment, we're not too far from Kokobakoa, so I will be sinking this ship, finishing up, and heading back there. I may actually contemplate going back to Oranjestad and hopping in our frigate, as a lot of the matches that we've had in the Bellona, while fairly fun, are very slow. Like, in a properly crewed Bellona, this fight would take much less time because reloads would be going off in a timely manner. I should stop being cheap as well. I should just throw a repair on rather than sit here in survival mode. Actually, I might do that. One of the things that I was talking about with some other people is gunnery does seem to increase the speed at which the repairs are completed. So, as a consensus, we kind of seem to favour putting our ship into gunnery mode for the repairs. Whether or not this is actually the case or not, we're not entirely sure. There's a lot of information about the game which is hidden. The mechanics of which, how things work and so on and so forth, aren't actually available, which is somewhat unfortunate. Coming back to what I said earlier, it's a beta. The idea is that you want to give us the information so we do break the game, so that we find the biggest exploits that we can. It doesn't really do anyone any good if we can't do that. But I think that's more of a concern in games where you're looking for kind of extreme balance, so I guess more competitive games, like MOBAs and I don't know, all those kind of style of things, if you will. And this game is certainly not competitive, and all the ships are available to everyone else. There's no issues between, like, you know, interfaction ships. The game's not really looking to balance, you know, a one first rate against another. It's not looking to have, say, like, a Santisma be able to match up evenly against a Victory and may the better sailor win, essentially. Probably should have fired there. But I had a feeling that most of our shots were actually going to be coming off our stern. One of the things I keep saying it, but I'm still getting used to it, is the fact that the Bellona does not have many guns in its midsection. Most of its guns are actually in the rear of the ship. As you can see there, we actually ended up missing far too many of those shots because we were rushing it. One of the things that probably comes across a little bit, especially in situations like this where I'm talking a lot, is the fact our play certainly gets worse when we're distracted with talking and trying to communicate ideas. And we go backwards and forwards as well. It causes us to stumble quite a bit in what we're talking about. And you'll forgive me if I do lose my train of thought occasionally as I get distracted by the game. Alright, this should finally wrap it up. That over and done, we can make tracks, as it were, and see what sort of adventures we're going to get up to around Kokobakau. And for the moment, we'll probably wrap this up for today. As usual, it's been Death Simulator. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, do let us know, and please consider liking, commenting, favouring, or subscribing, as your support does mean the world to me. And I'll see you all next time. Just wait for this to wrap up. There we go. Not a bad haul. A little bit of money. See you next time.